out some of those pictures tonight, aren't you?
I think that one was from possibly the big broadcast. I'm not sure, 1938. That's where you first sang Thanks for the Memory, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Gee, as I look at you, I still don't believe you're here, you know. You were such a thing to me as I was coming up as a kid, and I don't mean to keep emphasizing age.
No.
Because certainly nobody has conquered age any better than you have.
That's right. And you know what General Eisenhower said about age? There's three stages of life. Youth. No, wait a minute. Youth, maturity, and God, you look good.
Yes.
Which I love.
Yeah.
And it's true, too.
I just remembered something else. That time you came to Lincoln, Nebraska, I saw your show, and then I ran around backstage, and when you came out, I said, "Good show, Bob," or something, and as if in case you thought it was not good. And I was probably about 10 years old, and you said, "Thanks, son." Got in a car and left. I remember for days after that, I said, I was talking with Bob Hope the other day, and because I said, "Good show," and he said, but this friend of mine and I went up to your hotel.
Yeah.
You were staying in the Cornhusker Hotel.
Yeah, and I got stuck in the elevator.
You did?
Yeah, I was there with the mayor, and I was living on the next to the top floor, and when I got on, he said, "Hey, Bob Hope," and pushed the handle the wrong way. We went right to the roof. And they have an automatic thing that shuts it off, you know, but we were stuck between floors, and I had to crawl out of a hole that big to make the show, you know. Gives you a great feeling.
That would be all the close shaves you've had.
I went back to that town. That shows you how courageous I am.
To end up in an elevator in the middle of Nebraska after all.
Is John from there? He's from there, isn't he?
Carson is from Nebraska. I used to hear him on the radio on the way to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it again. What'd you do, hit him?
No, but I went up to your hotel room, and this friend of mine and I got up our nerve, and we knocked on the door.
Yeah.
And a lady came to the door, and she said...
My school teacher.
I
had to have. I was still going to school.
No, it was a middle-aged lady who said Mr. Hope's retired for the evening, and it was in those days I thought, what's a middle-aged lady doing in there with him?
No,
I didn't realize there were suites of rooms.
My psychiatrist.
And turned out that it was not your room, but you had
wrong
the whole,
room.
Apparently had the whole floor, and I guess you had secretaries and various people who worked for you. And every place we went, they said,
my wife is watching. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, you know. Because she wasn't there, I don't think, in Lincoln, Nebraska.
They said...
I think you had the wrong room, didn't you, Dick?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, it was the wrong town.
I think so, Dick.
No, what have I done after all these years? No, members of your staff, we kept finding their rooms, and they kept saying, Mr. Hope's retired for the evening, and we thought, well, okay. We thought of trying to climb up the fire escape.
Did we give you some kind of an all-day sucker and tell you to go away, or what?
No.
What did we do?
Have you ever been fired? I mean, like...
Fired? Yeah, I've been fired.
Yeah?
Well, I haven't been fired, actually, but I've been... was I fired? I must have been, yeah.
In vaudeville or anything? Did they ever come back and say, that's it? You know,
well, I told you about the Franklin thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean... B.S. Moss's Franklin. That was the same thing.
Cancel you?
Worse than being fired. They weren't polite about it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've had my option dropped by Paramount, you know. I was there 19 years, and then they didn't pick up my option
After all those road pictures?
Yeah, that's right. After the whole thing. They changed management and everything, you know?
Yeah.
And they didn't pick up my option the way I wanted it picked up. And I'll tell you, man, that's a terrible feeling after being in a place 19 years and you walk out. Because I was pretty well entrenched there, you know? It wasn't that way the first month I was there. In fact, they had my name on the dressing room door in chalk. They had a guy walking up and down in front with a sponge in his hand.
You know, when you said earlier you're a ham and you love the laughter and you'd like to keep going on with it, and I don't think I have it quite to that degree. I wonder if you could take a month and go off somewhere in a cabin and fish and read Popular Mechanics or Dickens or whatever, just nobody around here. I bet you'd go crazy when you know telephone.
Not at all.
Actually do that?
No. I went up to Egg Harbor because I'll always find something to do, you know. And you know, the fish don't applaud much, but. I love to get out. I fish. I go out fishing for a couple of weeks, and I love it.
How long can you stand the quiet?
I say about 20 minutes.
That's what I thought.
No, I do. I get out, and I have a lot of fun. You know, I have more fun than most people because I live in Palm Springs half the time. Mm-hmm. I play golf, and all these dates I play are, you know, I'm going to play the Harvest Moon Ball, you know. Now, that's because I want to play it, you know. And I don't have to play it because I know I can always borrow a little from you.
True. Which president that you've known them all, so who played golf best?
Played golf best?
Yeah.
Well, I think Ike. because Ike was, loved the game and played a lot of it. I played with Mr. Nixon about a year ago in Palm Desert, and he was pretty tight. Now, he used to be a pretty good player when he was vice president, like Agnew. Agnew has a black belt. He has a black belt in golf, and I think that, no, he is. Spiro could be a fine golfer if he could just aim it right. Because he hits it very hard, but he plays 3 or 4 courses at one time. And also the driving range. But Mr. Nixon, I played with him with Jimmy Stewart and Fred McMurray out at El Dorado. And, when I played with him, he was a 14, and now he's about a 20 because he's had all these problems, like going to China and having his eyes almond and all that kind of stuff. And, it's
tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And learning to eat with chopsticks. He didn't get much food in his mouth, but he started 3 fires. And I think that
it's just built into you. What?
I didn't know I was going to get into that. But that's some of it. No, but he would get up to here and hit the ball from there, And I said, Mr. President, because I know him pretty well, I said, why don't you pull your hands up a little higher, And how many times can you say to the President of the United States, get your hands up higher? No, you don't say it, do you?
John F. Kennedy played golf, but it wasn't well known that he did.
No, he played down in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Bing played with him a couple of times.
Do you know
he played with a friend of mine, Chris Dunphy, Jack Kennedy, when he was president. And Chris Dunphy used to wait for him at the plane and take him right out to Seminole and play. And they were playing, and Chris loves to play for money, so they were playing whatever Kennedy would play for, $5 or $10. And if he did that, this is just hearsay. I don't think he gambled. But anyway, first hole he had a putt about this long. The President of the United States. And the President looked up and said, aren't you going to give me this putt? Chris said, these are the kind of putts that build character. The President Kennedy said, wait a minute. You realize that I flew down here after working for you and the rest of the country all day, and I came down and played. You're not going to give me this putt? And he said, Mr. President, practice these kind, because if you ever play for any big money, he said, this is the kind that'll help you in your game, And Jack Kennedy looked at it. He said, well, I want to tell you, I'm having a meeting today with Mortimer Kaplan, the head of the Internal Revenue Department. Chris said, pick it up.
Okay, we have to come back after this message. Stay where you are.